Lisa Carter woke up with her head pounding like someone had hit her with a wrench. Her hands moved to check for blood but found only a small bump behind her left ear. The last thing she remembered was working on the engine systems of the transport ship Mercy. When alarms started blaring, the room around her was not the familiar metal walls of her ship. Instead, she found herself sitting on a smooth crystal floor, inside what looked like a cage made of glowing blue energy. The walls hummed with power and cast strange shadows that moved without any light source to create them. She stood up slowly and tested her balance. Her combat engineer training kicked in automatically as she examined her prison. The energy barrier felt warm when she got close, but did not burn her skin. When she pressed her palm against it, a shock ran up her arm that made her teeth ache. Other cages surrounded hers in a large circular chamber. Each one held a different type of being. Lisa had seen aliens before, during the first contact missions, but never this many different kinds in one place. In the cage to her right sat a woman with pointed ears and silver hair that seemed to glow in the strange light. Her skin had a pale green tint, and her eyes were larger than human eyes. The woman wore what looked like leather armor decorated with leaves and small bones. Lisa tried to speak, but her throat felt dry and rough. She coughed and tried again. The elf woman looked up when she heard the sound. Her expression showed surprise, mixed with something that might have been pity. Lisa cleared her throat again and managed to speak in a hoarse whisper. The elf woman moved closer to the energy wall between their cages. She spoke in a musical language that Lisa did not understand. Then she switched to what sounded like broken English. The elf pointed to herself and said one word that sounded like Vera. Then she pointed at Lisa and raised her eyebrows in a question. Lisa understood and pointed to herself while saying her own name. The elf tried to repeat it, but the sounds came out wrong. Lisa nodded anyway, to show she understood. Vera pointed around the chamber at the other cages and spoke several words. Lisa could not understand, but her tone was serious and worried. Lisa got the feeling that whatever this place was, it was not good. In the other cages, Lisa could see more aliens. A large reptile creature with scales that changed color sat in one cage. The thing was easily twice her size, with claws that looked like they could cut through metal. Its yellow eyes watched everything with intelligence that made Lisa uncomfortable. Another cage held something that looked like a giant insect walking on two legs. Its head moved in quick, jerky motions. As it examined its prison, the creature wore armor that seemed to be part of its body. More cages stretched around the chamber, holding beings Lisa had never seen before. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange she could not even guess what they might be like. The chamber itself was enormous, with a domed ceiling that disappeared into darkness above them. Strange symbols covered the walls and pulsed with the same blue light as their cages. Lisa tried to read the symbols, but they made no sense. To her, Vera had been watching Lisa examine their things. When Lisa looked back at her, the elf woman began to speak very slowly, using simple words. She seemed to understand that Lisa did not know much of the common language. From what Lisa could understand, they were in some kind of testing facility. Vera used words like trial and fight and death. The elf woman pointed up toward the ceiling and made slashing motions across her throat. Lisa felt her stomach drop as she began to understand they were prisoners and something bad was going to happen to them. The way Vera spoke suggested that others had been here before them, and those others had not survived, as if responding to their conversation. The chamber filled with a loud humming sound. The symbols on the walls began to pulse faster and brighter. Lisa could feel vibrations through the crystal flooring. New voice echoed through the chamber, speaking in the same musical language Vera had used. The voice was cold and mechanical like a computer, but with an alien accent that made the words sound threatening. Vera listened to the announcement, and her face grew pale. When the voice stopped, she looked at Lisa with an expression of fear and determination mixed. Together she spoke slowly again, using the simple words Lisa could follow. From what she understood, they would soon face their first trial. The voice had explained that they were here to test their combat abilities. Different species would be tested, In different ways, Lisa thought about her training as a combat engineer. She knew how to fight, but her real skills were in building and fixing things under pressure. She could make weapons from spare parts and repair equipment that others thought was broken forever. But if this place tested each species differently, she needed to understand what it knew about humans. The problem was that humans were new to this galactic community. The aliens here might not know what humans could really do. This gave Lisa an idea. If the testing system did not know human capabilities, she could surprise it. The key would be to hide her true abilities until the right moment. She needed to appear weaker than she really was while learning everything she could. About this place, Vera was still talking and pointing at the other cages. Lisa gathered that the elf woman had been here for several days. She had seen other prisoners come and go. None of the ones who left ever came back. The reptile creature in the nearby cage had been listening to their conversation. It moved closer to its energy wall and spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. Lisa could not understand the words, but the tone was not hostile. Vera translated slowly. The creature was called Zara, and it was a warrior from somewhere called the Saurian Empire. It had been captured during a battle and brought here like the rest of them. Lisa nodded to show she understood. She was starting to get a picture of this place. It collected warriors from different species and made them fight in some kind of deadly competition. The question was why. As she thought about this, the humming sound grew louder. The energy walls around their cages began to flicker. Lisa felt her heart rate increase as she prepared for whatever was about to happen. The floor beneath them started to move, sections of crystal sliding apart to create openings. Lisa realized the cages were going to open soon. She looked at Vera and saw the same understanding in the elf woman's eyes. They were about to face their first trial, and Lisa had no idea what to expect, but she knew one thing for certain. She was going to survive this place and find a way to escape, and if possible, she was going to help the others escape too. Was what humans did. They adapted, and they helped others adapt too. This alien testing facility was about to learn something new about human nature. The energy walls flickered and disappeared with a sound like breaking glass. Lisa stepped forward carefully, testing the space where her cage had been. The air felt different now, charged with electricity that made her skin tingle around the chamber. Other prisoners were also stepping out of their cells. Vera moved with fluid grace, like she was dancing rather than walking. Zara, the reptile warrior, stomped forward with heavy steps that echoed off the crystal walls. A section of the chamber wall slid open, revealing a corridor lined with the same pulsing blue symbols. The mechanical voice spoke again, and Vera translated for Lisa. They were to proceed to the testing arena. Lisa walked beside Vera as they followed the corridor. The elf woman continued to speak slowly, helping Lisa understand more words. The trials would test different abilities, combat skills, problem-solving, survival instincts. As they walked, Lisa studied the other prisoners. The insect creature moved with quick, precise steps, its head turned constantly, watching for threats or opportunities. The other aliens showed various signs of nervousness, fear, or determination. The corridor opened into a vast arena with walls that stretched up into darkness. The floor was divided into different sections. Some areas had obstacles and barriers. Others contained what looked like weapons scattered on the ground. Still other sections had deep pits or raised platforms. The mechanical voice spoke again, giving instructions. Vera listened carefully, then explained to Lisa they would face individual trials. First, each prisoner would enter a different section of the arena. The trials would test their natural abilities. Lisa felt worried about this. If the system tested her as a human, it might not know what to expect, but it might also be harder to hide her true capabilities. She decided to appear competent, but not exceptionally. Section of floor near Lisa began to glow. She understood this was her testing area. As she walked toward it, she noticed Vera heading to a different section filled with trees and plants. Zara moved toward an area with large rocks and what looked like cave entrances. Lisa's area contained mechanical devices and broken equipment scattered across the floor. Some pieces looked familiar, like parts of engines or computer systems. Others were completely alien in design. The voice spoke again, and Lisa understood. It was time to begin. Her section of the arena was sealed off by energy walls, like the cages had been. She could see the other prisoners in their own testing areas, but could not reach Thema. Timer appeared floating in the air above her head. Numbers counted down from what looked like 30 minutes. Lisa examined the equipment around her and began to understand the trial. She needed to build something. The broken pieces were parts of a weapon system. If she could assemble them correctly, she would have a functioning energy rifle, but many of the pieces were damaged or missing. Lisa began sorting through the components. Her training as a combat engineer helped her identify what each piece was supposed to do. Even the alien parts followed logical design principles. Once she studied them carefully, she found the main power core cracked down one side. The focusing crystal was shattered into 3 pieces. The trigger mechanism was missing entirely, but Lisa had worked with worse conditions before. Instead of trying to fix the broken parts, Lisa began improvising. She used wire from a damaged computer to bypass the cracked power core. A piece of metal from a destroyed tool became a new trigger mechanism for the focusing crystal. She tried something different. She arranged the 3 pieces in a triangle pattern and used more wire to hold them in place. The result was not perfect, but it might work. Other prisoners were working in their own sections. Lisa could see Vera using what looked like magic to make plants grow into specific shapes. Zara was moving massive rocks with her bare hands, arranging them into some kind of structure. The timer showed 15 minutes remaining. Lisa had assembled most of her weapon, but it looked rough and improvised compared to what the original design probably intended. She hoped this would make her seem less skilled than she really was. She activated the power core and held her breath. The weapon hummed to life, but the energy output was weak and unstable. Perfect. This would suggest she had basic technical skills, but nothing exceptional. The timer reached 0, and the energy walls disappeared. The mechanical voice spoke, and Vera translated. The first trials were complete. They were being evaluated. Lisa looked around at what the other prisoners had accomplished. Vera had grown an entire garden of plants that formed intricate patterns. Zara had built what looked like a fortress out of the available rocks. The insect creature had assembled some kind of complex trap system. All of their work looked polished and professional. Lisa's weapon looked like something built by someone with limited skills. This was exactly what she had hoped for. Voice spoke again, announcing that they would return to holding areas while the results were analyzed, but this time they were not placed in individual cages. Instead, they were put together in a larger chamber with basic facilities. Lisa found herself sitting near Vera and Zara. The 3 of them had begun to form a group during the trials. Now they could talk more freely. Vera continued helping Lisa learn more words. Her English was getting better as they practiced. Zara spoke a different language, but seemed to understand some of what they said. Lisa learned that Vera came from a world called Sylvander, where her people lived in harmony with nature. The elves had strong connections to plant and animal life, which gave them abilities that others called magic. Zara was from the Saurian Empire, a collection of worlds ruled by reptile species. Like herself, her people valued strength and honor in combat. They were natural warriors and builders. As they talked, Lisa began to share some information about humans. She was careful not to reveal too much, but she wanted to build trust with her new allies. She explained that humans were good at fixing things and solving problems. Vera seemed particularly interested in this. She asked Lisa many questions about human abilities. Lisa answered honestly, but focused on basic skills rather than advanced capabilities. While they talked, other prisoners joined their group. Lisa learned there were beings from dozens of different worlds and species. Each one had been captured and brought here for testing. One of the newcomers surprised Lisa greatly. She was human, a woman, about Lisa's age, with short brown hair and the kind of tan that came from working outdoors. She introduced herself as Maya Stone. Maya had been a pilot before her capture. She had been flying a cargo ship when raiders attacked. Her story was similar to Lisa's own experience. The raiders seemed to be working for whoever ran this testing facility. Having another human present changed everything for Lisa. Now she had someone who could understand human thinking and capabilities. Maya also had different skills that could complement Lisa's engineering background, but Lisa was careful not to show too much excitement about finding another human. She suspected they were being watched and recorded. She did not want to reveal that humans might work well together. Maya seemed to understand this instinctively. She acted friendly, but not overly familiar with Lisa. They talked like two strangers getting to know each other, rather than members of the same species. That night, as the prisoners tried to sleep in the holding chamber, Lisa thought about what she had learned. The testing facility was studying different species to understand their capabilities. This information was probably valuable to someone. Che also realized the trials were getting harder. The first test had been relatively simple, but future challenges would likely be more dangerous and complex. Lisa made a decision she would continue to hide her true abilities, while learning everything she could about this place, but she would also start building alliances with the other prisoners. Humans were social creatures. They worked best in groups, and they were good at teaching others new skills. If Lisa could share some human knowledge with her allies, they might all have a better chance of survival. The key was to do this gradually, without revealing too much too quickly. She needed to appear helpful, but not suspiciously knowledgeable. As she drifted off to sleep, Lisa began planning how to survive the next trial, and how to start building the foundation for something bigger than just personal survival. Lisa woke to the sound of energy barriers activating around their sleeping area. The mechanical voice announced that the second trial would begin soon. She sat up and noticed that several of the prisoners from the night before were missing. Vera was already awake and looked worried. She explained quietly that prisoners who performed poorly in trials sometimes disappeared during the night. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine as she realized the stakes were higher than she had thought. Caught Lisa's eye from across the chamber and gave a small nod. The other human looked calm, but Lisa could see tension in her posture. Maya had clearly reached the same conclusion about their situation. The second trial was different from the first. Instead of individual challenges, the prisoners were divided into small teams. Lisa found herself grouped with Vera and Zara, along with the insect creature and two other aliens she had not met before. Their testing area was a maze filled with obstacles and hidden dangers. The walls could move and reconfigure themselves, creating new paths while blocking others. The goal was to reach the center where a glowing crystal waited. As they entered the maze, Lisa immediately began studying the pattern of wall movements. The system seemed to respond to their actions, creating obstacles that specifically countered each team member's strengths. When Vera used her plant magic to create bridges, the walls would shift to block her growth. When Zara tried to break through barriers with her strength, new walls would appear that were stronger than before. Lisa realized this was not just a test of abilities, it was a learning system that adapted to counter whatever strategies they used. The facility was gathering data about how different species approached problems. She began to form a plan instead of using obvious human problem-solving techniques. Lisa would guide her team using methods that appeared to come from the other species she would hide. Her tactical thinking behind their natural abilities suggested that Zara use her strength not to break walls, but to lift team members to higher vantage points from there. Vera could use her plant growth to create anchors for climbing rather than bridges. The insect creature could use its natural agility to scout ahead. The strategy worked because it combined abilities in ways the system had not seen before. The walls adapted to counter individual strengths, but not cooperative tactics that mixed different approaches. As they progressed through the maze, Lisa noticed something important. The system was recording everything. Their movements, their decisions, even their conversations were being monitored and analyzed. When they reached the center and claimed the crystal, Lisa felt proud of their teamwork, but she also felt worried about how much the facility had learned about human tactical thinking. After the trial, the teams were returned to the holding chamber. Lisa was surprised to find a third human waiting there, a woman with gray hair and the confident bearing of someone used to being in charge. She introduced herself as Dr. Kira Velkira, had been captured while conducting research on an alien world. Her scientific background meant she approached problems differently than Lisa engineering skills or Maya piloting experience. Now there were 3 humans with complementary abilities. That night, while the other prisoners slept, the 3 humans found a way to talk quietly, without being overheard. They shared information about their captures and began to piece together what was happening. Kira had noticed medical equipment in some areas of the facility. She suspected they were not just testing combat abilities, but studying biological and psychological responses to stress. The data would be valuable for developing weapons or countermeasures. Maya had observed the facility layout during her trials. She believed they were on a large space station rather than a planet. The energy signatures she had seen suggested powerful computers running complex simulations. Lisa shared her observations about the adaptive testing system. She was convinced the facility was building profiles of different species' capabilities. These profiles could be used to predict and counter military strategies together. They realized they were part of something much larger than simple gladiatorial combat. The facility was developing intelligence about galactic species for someone who planned to use that information. The question was, who was behind this, and how could they stop it? Over the following days, the trials became more complex and dangerous. Lisa's team faced environmental hazards, like extreme temperatures and toxic atmospheres. They encountered predator creatures that seemed designed to test their survival instincts. Lisa continued to guide her team using hidden tactical knowledge. She taught them concepts like covering fire and flanking maneuvers, but presented these ideas as obvious extensions of their natural abilities. Vera learned to use her plant magic in new ways, creating distractions and camouflage rather than just bridges and barriers. Zara discovered that her strength was more effective when applied strategically, rather than directly. The insect creature, whose name translated to something like Buzz, began incorporating team coordination into its natural scouting behavior. The other team members learned to work together in ways they had never considered before. Lisa noticed that teams using these new cooperative strategies were performing much better than teams that relied only on individual abilities. The facility system was struggling to adapt because it had never encountered this type of thinking before, but this success came with a price. The mechanical voice began asking more questions about their strategies. Team leaders were taken for individual interviews, where they were asked to explain their decision-making processes. Lisa knew she had to be careful. During her interview, she answered questions honestly, but focused on learning from her teammates rather than teaching them. Her goal was to appear like someone who was good at following suggestions, rather than making tactical decisions. The interviewer was not the mechanical voice, but a real alien, a tall insectoid creature with multiple arms and eyes that moved independently. Its questions were precise and intelligent. Lisa got the impression this creature was frustrated by her team's performance. They were succeeding in ways that did not match the predicted capabilities of their species. After the interview, Lisa was returned to the holding chamber where she found Vera looking shaken. The elf woman had been questioned about her new plant techniques and had struggled to explain where she learned them that night. Lisa made a decision. It was time to take bigger risks. If the facility was gathering intelligence to harm other species, then someone needed to stop it, and if the system could not adapt to human thinking, then humans might be the key to disrupting the entire operation. She began planning not just for survival but for escape, and not just escape for herself, but for all the prisoners who had been brought here against their will. The next morning, Lisa began to implement the first phase of her plan. She started teaching more advanced concepts to her teammates, but disguised them as natural extensions of their existing abilities. She taught Vera about redundancy by suggesting the elf create backup plans in case primary ones were destroyed. She taught Zara about force multiplication by showing her how leverage could make her strength more effective. Most importantly, she taught them all about unpredictability by encouraging them to vary their strategies, even when previous approaches had worked. The facility system began to show signs of strain. It was designed to learn and counter consistent patterns, but human tactical flexibility created chaos in its predictions. Lisa knew they were getting close to something important. The question was whether they would discover it before the facility discovered what they were really doing. The facility began changing its approach to the trials. Instead of teams, the prisoners now faced individual challenges that seemed designed to isolate them from each other. Lisa suspected the system had detected their cooperative strategies and was trying to counter them during her solo trial. Lisa was placed in a room filled with broken technology and given a simple goal: repair the power system to unlock the exit. But the room was also filled with distractions and false solutions designed to waste time. Lisa recognized this as a test of focus and problem-solving under pressure. She approached it like any engineering challenge by breaking the problem into smaller parts and working systematically, but she also did something the system probably did not expect. She left clues for the next prisoner, subtle marks that would help them understand the solution faster. She was thinking beyond her own success to help others who would face similar challenges. When she completed her trial, Lisa was taken to a different holding area. This one was smaller and contained only the prisoners who had performed exceptionally well in recent tests. She realized they were being separated based on ability levels in this new area. Lisa found Maya and Kira, along with Vera, Zara, and several other aliens who had become skilled at cooperative tactics. The facility seemed to be concentrating its most successful subjects at night. Kira shared disturbing information she had gathered from medical examinations. The facility was not just testing their abilities, it was also studying their biology, looking for weaknesses that could be exploited. Maya had discovered something equally troubling during her trials. The facility layout included manufacturing areas where weapons and equipment were being produced. The testing data was being used to develop actual military hardware. Lisa realized they were running out of time. Whatever organization was behind this facility was preparing to use their research for real conflicts. The information gathered here would help them defeat entire species in actual warfare. She decided it was time to stop hiding her capabilities and start actively working against the facility. But first she needed to coordinate with the other humans and build a larger network of allies. Lisa began by approaching Vera with a direct proposal. Instead of pretending to learn from the elf woman, Lisa offered to teach her advanced human tactical concepts in exchange for information about elven abilities. Vera was surprised by this change, but agreed to the partnership. She had noticed that Lisa's suggestions always seemed to work better than expected. Now she understood why Lisa taught Vera about combined arms tactics, how different types of forces could support each other in ways that multiplied their effectiveness. Vera shared knowledge about elven magic and how it connected to natural systems together. They began teaching these concepts to other prisoners. Lisa's human understanding of technology combined with Vera's magical knowledge created possibilities neither had imagined alone. Zara was eager to learn when she saw how effective their new strategies were. Lisa taught her about unit coordination and how individual strength could be amplified through teamwork. Zara taught Lisa about saurian pack hunting. Insect creature Buzz became fascinated by human concepts of adaptation and improvisation. These ideas fit naturally with insectoid hive thinking, but applied in individual contexts, they created new possibilities within days. Their small group had transformed from a collection of individuals into a coordinated team that thought and acted with unified purpose. The facility testing systems began to malfunction. When trying to predict their behavior, Lisa knew this success would attract attention from the facility operators. She was right. The next morning, all the high-performing prisoners were taken for extensive interviews and medical examinations. Her session, Lisa was questioned by a different alien. This one looked almost human, except for pale blue skin and eyes that were completely black. It spoke perfect English and seemed to know more about human capabilities than previous interviewers. The creature asked specific questions about human military history and tactical development. Lisa answered truthfully, but focused on ancient examples rather than modern techniques. She wanted to appear knowledgeable, but not dangerously softer. The Interview Lisa was returned to a new holding area that was even more secure than before. The walls were thicker, the energy barriers stronger, and the monitoring systems more obvious, but the facility had made a mistake by putting all their most capable prisoners together in one place. Lisa, Maya, and Kira could now coordinate directly with Vera, Zara, Buzz, and a dozen other skilled aliens. That night Lisa proposed a radical plan. Instead of trying to escape, they would take control of the entire facility. They would use their combined knowledge to turn the testing systems against their captors. Maya would handle the technical aspects, using her piloting skills to navigate computer systems. Kira would manage biological and medical components. Lisa would coordinate tactical operations. Their alien allies would provide capabilities. No human team could match Vera. Plant magic could interfere with organic components. Zara's strength could handle physical barriers. Buzz could scout areas too dangerous for others. The plan required perfect timing and coordination. They would need to move simultaneously against multiple targets while avoiding the facility's security systems. Lisa began by mapping out everything they knew about the facility layout. Maya had observed during her trials, combined with information from other prisoners, created a rough blueprint. They identified key systems that needed to be controlled: the power grid, the computer networks, the communication arrays, and the manufacturing areas. If they could take all of these at once, they might be able to prevent the facility from calling for help. But first they needed more allies. Lisa began reaching out to prisoners in other holding areas, using techniques Maya had developed for bypassing monitoring systems. She discovered there were hundreds of prisoners from dozens of species scattered throughout the facility. Many had been here for months, developing skills and knowledge that could be valuable. Lisa began organizing these prisoners into coordinated groups, each with specific objectives. During the uprising, some would handle security systems, others would secure escape routes, still others would gather intelligence about the facility operators. The preparation took weeks, but finally everything was ready. Lisa gave the signal, and the uprising began simultaneously across the entire facility. Teams of prisoners moved through corridors. They had secretly mapped taking control of critical systems, using tactics they had practiced in secret. The facility's security forces were overwhelmed by coordinated attacks from multiple directions. Maya took control of the computer systems and discovered the full scope of the operation. The facility was run by something called the Nexus Corporation, which was selling military intelligence to the highest bidders. Kira found laboratories where biological weapons were being developed based on prisoner testing data. These weapons were designed to target specific species weaknesses. Lisa coordinated the overall operation while fighting through areas defended by automated security systems. Her teams used human tactical principles, enhanced by alien abilities, to overcome obstacles that should have been impossible. But as they neared complete control of the facility, they discovered one final challenge. The station was rigged to self-destruct. If the prisoners ever managed to escape, Lisa realized this was the ultimate test, not just of their abilities, but of their determination. They had to choose between their own freedom and preventing the facility data from reaching its intended buyers. The decision was easy. They would destroy the facility and find another way to escape. They had learned too much about each other and themselves to let this knowledge be used for conquest and war. As alarms blared and the countdown began, Lisa felt proud of what they had accomplished. They had not just survived the facility trials, they had evolved beyond what any of their species had achieved alone. Now, they just had to escape before the station exploded around them. The countdown timer showed 15 minutes until total station destruction. Lisa knew this was their final examination, not in survival skills, but in their ability to work together under impossible pressure. Maya had located the station hangar bays, but the routes were blocked by security barriers that required manual override from multiple locations simultaneously. The facility designers had made sure no single person could escape. Alone, Lisa divided their forces into teams, each responsible for a specific barrier override point. Vera would handle the botanical systems that controlled atmospheric locks. Zara would manage the heavy mechanical systems. Buzz would coordinate timing between all teams. The three humans took the most dangerous assignments. Maya would pilot their escape vessel, while Kira handled medical support for wounded prisoners. Lisa would ensure everyone else escaped before leaving herself. As they moved through the station corridors, emergency lighting cast red shadows that made everything look like it was already on fire. The countdown announcements echoed from speakers in multiple languages, creating a chorus of approaching doom. Lisa team reached the main power junction that controlled the hangar barriers. She had found the manual override panel, but it required 3 simultaneous key turns spaced too far apart for one person to reach. Sarah arrived at her position and confirmed the same problem at the mechanical systems. Vera reported that the botanical controls also needed multiple operators working together. Lisa realized this was not an accident. The facility final test was designed to ensure that only coordinated groups could escape. Individual excellence meant nothing if they could not work as a unified team. She activated the communication system Maya had established and synchronized the countdown. All teams would activate their overrides at exactly the same moment. This required trust in each other's abilities and perfect timing. The countdown reached 10 minutes. As Lisa gave the final instructions, each team leader confirmed their readiness. The barriers would drop for exactly 30 seconds before emergency systems reactivated. Lisa counted down from 10. When she reached 0, every team activated their overrides simultaneously. The massive hangar doors began to open for the first time since any of them had been prisoners. Maya had prepared 3 escape ships, using her piloting knowledge and components salvaged from facility maintenance areas. The ships were crude, but functional, and large enough to carry all the escaped prisoners. As the first ship launched, Lisa realized something important was happening. The facility had tested hundreds of prisoners over months or years, but none had ever reached this point. They were not just escaping, they were graduating. The second ship cleared the hangar. As the countdown reached 5 minutes, Lisa made sure the last group of prisoners was aboard the third ship before climbing in herself. As Maya piloted them away from the station, Lisa watched through the viewport. The facility exploded in a brilliant flash that lit up the surrounding space for several seconds. When the light faded, nothing remained but debris and the ships carrying former prisoners to freedom. But Lisa knew their real achievement was not the escape itself. It was what they had become during their time in the facility. They had learned to combine their different abilities in ways none of their species had ever imagined. Vera had developed new applications for elven magic. By understanding human engineering principles, Zara had learned to use saurian strength with human tactical flexibility. Buzz had combined insectoid precision with human adaptability. Humans had gained just as much. Lisa had learned to see problems from alien perspectives. Maya had discovered new ways to pilot by understanding how other species moved through 3-dimensional space. Kira had expanded her biological knowledge to include completely different evolutionary paths. Says their ships flew toward the nearest inhabited system. Lisa began planning what they would do with their new knowledge. They could not simply return to their old lives and pretend nothing had changed. The Nexus Corporation would continue operating other facilities unless someone stopped them. The knowledge they had gained about species cooperation could help defend against future attacks, but more importantly, they had proven something revolutionary. Different species could learn from each other in ways that made everyone stronger. The facility had tried to catalog weaknesses, but instead had created something unprecedented. Lisa proposed that they stay together as a group, traveling between worlds to teach what they had learned. They would share human tactical thinking with other species while learning even more from cultures they encountered. Maya suggested they also hunt down other Nexus facilities and shut them down using the same cooperative strategies that had allowed their escape. Kira wanted to establish research programs that would study beneficial cooperation rather than exploitable weaknesses. They could help species develop joint defense strategies instead of trying to find ways to attack each other. Their alien companions agreed enthusiastically. Vera said the Elven Council would be interested in establishing formal alliances based on shared knowledge. Zara believed the Saurian Empire would welcome new tactical approaches. Buzz had the most surprising suggestion. The insectoid wanted to return to its hive with human concepts of individual initiative and creativity. These ideas could revolutionize how their species approached problems as they traveled. Lisa reflected on what the facility had accidentally accomplished. The Nexus Corporation had intended to create detailed intelligence profiles for military use instead. They had created the foundation for unprecedented cooperation between species. The facility motto had promised no survivors, but they had been wrong. Lisa and her companions had not simply survived, they had evolved. They had become something new that combined the best aspects of multiple species. 6 months later, Lisa stood on the bridge of a ship crewed by beings from a dozen different worlds. They were using human command structure enhanced by elven intuition and Saurian pack coordination. The result was more effective than any single species Navy Maya commanded. A flight school where pilots from across the galaxy learned human flying techniques adapted for their particular biology. Her students were breaking performance records that military experts had thought impossible. Kira led a medical research institute that was developing treatments based on multi-species cooperation. Her teams had solved biological problems that had puzzled scientists for generations. The Nexus Corporation had tried to contact their facility, but found only debris. They had no idea what had happened to their research data or their test subjects, but across the galaxy, species that had been considered incompatible were forming alliances and sharing knowledge. Military strategies that had worked for centuries were becoming obsolete as defenders used cooperative tactics. Lisa knew the facility had succeeded in ways its creators never intended. It had not produced better weapons or more detailed intelligence about species weaknesses. Instead, it had created something much more dangerous to those who profited from conflict. It had proven that working together made everyone stronger, and that lesson was spreading faster than any military force could contain it. The alien death maze had promised no survivors, but Lisa and her companions had walked out as something the galaxy had never seen before. They were graduates of a school that taught the most important lesson of all: sometimes the best way to win is to make sure everyone wins together.